I'm a bit rattled by what's sitting behind me.
Well, actually, look, I think we all are, Lordo. So without further ado, this is what confronted us this morning, as we say, Kane Corns. Good morning.
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm back from the brink, Spook.
It's good to have you back from the brink, Spook.
Good to be back from the brink. Have you ever been to the brink?
I've been over the brink. I
Have
went
you
there
ever?
on Saturday night.
Yeah.
All right,
Go
so watch the game Saturday.
I did. From home, obviously. I had a bit of a health issue 2 weeks ago, as I think you pointed out in the last rant. So ended up in hospital, which was always fun. Got to watch the Carlton win from there, though. So I enjoyed that part. Just on the mend now, but obviously we'll be doing Zoom for this one and probably the next one. And then
How about the grand final?
For the grand final, I'll be back in front of the camera for that one, and probably for the next 20 rants after that, because I think we'll be recording it every 8 minutes.
All right, so let's go to the game. I'm going to get the housekeeping out of the way. You know, when I saw umpire Roseberry's name allocated to our game, I thought this is going to be a fucking shit night. What a shock. It was a fucking shit night to the extent, I mean, I tweeted about it and some people go, you're whinging. And it's like, Craig McRae also actually commented on it. So either I inspired him to comment or he noticed something too.
I don't think it's actually fair to single out Roseberry. I think they're all equally fucking worthless.
Yeah, well,
and I actually don't think it's necessarily their fault, because the issues that we're about to talk about were very commonplace across every final I watched this weekend.
I'll go back to the Brisbane. This is what shits me. I'll go back to the Brisbane-Richmond final. Brisbane hit the front. There's about a minute and a bit left to go. There's a portion of play where Shai Bolton tries to stream through the centre and he gets tackled and he drops it. And I'm not picking on him, not picking on Richmond. Just as an instance of what holding the ball is, that's a fucking textbook holding the ball. And the umpires decide, well, we're not paying frees now because it's just letting the fucking game go. That is holding the ball every single time.
I think they let the textbook go as well, to be honest.
And that shits me. And people will go, let the game go on. It's like, fuck you if that's really your opinion. Because the reality is, if you're going to say, hey, we can tackle, but we're not going to pay frees, then why pay a mark? Why pay fucking anything that's actually a rule? If you're just going to disregard one of the fundamentals of the game, which is tackling. The throws that went on Saturday night, it made me sick. And, I'll actually say, I think it had some bearing in the game, because if you were getting rewarded for tackling, some things might have changed.
It actually makes a mockery of having fucking rules, that if you go into a final series and you've got a group of players, and this is both sides, that have been playing to the way that the game has been monitored, I guess is probably the polite term, and that all changes, and even them, they're sitting there wondering what the fuck is going on at times. What's the point in the rules? What's the sense of it? There was that one towards the end of the game, and it was a clear hold in the ball. I think most of the players on both sides around it.
That was Nick Dacos one, where
and Dacos was sitting there, and he was just like exasperatingly putting his hands up in the air, like, what the fuck is going on? It's textbook. Yeah. Everyone would use the word textbook, and it's just ridiculous, because you've even got the play stopping because it's so blatantly obvious that was a free and it's not being paid, and then all of a sudden someone's going, fuck, the game's still in play. And it puts you at an absolute fucking, you're open at that point.
Ironically, Nick Dacos,
I don't remember whether they goaled out of that one, but it was clear it was the top of the Geelong's 50 arc.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous territory to have such fucking stupidity happen. I'm not blaming the loss entirely on the umpiring. It was frustrating.
Yeah. There was one early on where Pendlebury got a handball out to Ginnivan, and Pendlebury got clipped high, and Ginnivan snapped it around, and Mychek marked on top of the goal square.
No, and the umpire said, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry, Johnson. Yeah. Why would Mychek be taking the mark? Ash Johnson marked.
More about him later.
Yeah. And then the umpire said, well, no, hang on, the advantage rule's not in play. At no fucking point was that flow of play disrupted. And somehow they've decided, no, it's got to come back. Seriously, this is fucked. There was one also when Josh Dacos got tackled on the wing where he was running into an arc and he slipped over. The moment he slipped, he handballed it and he got tackled. And that was on the ball. It's like, what? Well, he got rid of it. What the fuck is your interpretation that because he ran a little bit of an arc, that was his prior opportunity? The umpiring was so poor, and really, maybe look at other things. Brett Roseberry has not played in Collingwood's favour over the years. But, like I said, I don't want to entirely blame the umpiring for the loss. I mean, the number one thing for me is we just lack a little polish and class. And what we also lack, not a little of, is some key position fucking players.
Yeah, I think you look at the end result and you'd say that Jeremy Cameron was a massive reason why Geelong run. And with our entries, you're looking at our side going, you need someone like Jeremy Cameron there to start fucking intercepting some of these things. The lack of a key forward. I mean, we've bemoaned it all year, but it was very, very evident the other night. We probably, we failed to convert some, I would have thought, gimme ones, but that sometimes that happens in finals, that the pressure is actually elevated, the game pressure is elevated, that it does have an impact on simple conversion. And brain farts, apparently that's something new as well. Not looking at me, I check there.
Jesus Christ. Seriously, how fucking stupid is that?
I just seriously can't. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
I think I've told this story before. I recall in 1986, I went to a training session just after Lee Matthews took over as coach, and they were playing a match simulation, and Brian Taylor took this mark about 30 out, pretty much where my check was. And Matty Ryan, the rover, ran past, and Taylor handballed it off, and Ryan, he kicked the goal. But Matthews blew the whistle and just went apeshit. And he goes, if that's where you take the mark, you go back, you take the kick. You don't risk fucking it up. And my check should really take, because my check's been really mediocre for a little while. I understand he's probably playing hurt or whatever, which makes it more fucking important that you take your opportunities when they're there.
Yep.
Why you felt the need to rush that, I don't understand that at all. It was just a really poor decision. And there was a few of those throughout the game where you just thought, I actually thought we were sort of pretty close to getting a stranglehold in the game. We're sort of always that one goal away. And that was during Geelong when they were coming at us. So to arrest their momentum, and I was saying, even if you fucking missed, just stop the rush, because right now they're running all over the top of us. Just stop it. Stop their momentum. Have a shot. Even if you miss, it lets everyone run back in the position and all that sort of shit. Absolutely appalling. I hope McRae points it out in match review and says, I don't ever want to see this fucking again.
That's it. No, totally agree.
As it is, the forwards aren't doing enough. I mean, Ash Johnson, he kicked 2, but, really had very little influence in the game. Ginnivan, despite being launched into space for pushing the back, didn't really do a lot. McCreary didn't do a lot. So you had all the forwards relatively quiet. Ball was butchered moving forward. Just some of the decision-making, too, was like, what are you thinking? It felt like they were really overly conscious of keeping the game moving. And at times they were doing it to this recklessness that just kept seeing him undone. And it was really frustrating to watch, where he just felt like, just maybe slow it down just like half a second. Just fucking put a bit of poise on what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the flow of the game, though, was it was just frenetic all the way through. And I think some of the, the stupid decisions were a byproduct of that there was that sense of presence there all the time. You look at early on in the game, I lost count of the amount of times that Nick Dacos was run down from behind. Just, I think, everyone, especially him, I guess, never playing in a final before, seemed to think they had that extra second or so. And I think once that became clear that wasn't the case, and then they started doing a lot of reactionary type disposals. I don't know. Maybe that's... I think a lot of them will learn. It's their first final under the belt. I'd hope you wouldn't see a repeat of a lot of this stuff on Saturday night.
Yeah, look, I thought Pendlebury was really good in trying to impose some structure, or whatever you call it, some poise into what he was doing. The others, there was a lot of just, I don't know. It's a sort of game which really frustrates me, because I look at the side and I think, I'd love this side to go all the way, obviously, but It also felt like you're getting a little bit exposed in that lack of class throughout the side. You're getting these guys who are very typically Collingwood, very typically battlers, and they're struggling at times. And then meanwhile, the guys like Pendlebury and De Goey are really shining because they have that genuine ability to, so I don't know. And you get like play. I don't know. I just got frustrated. I felt going in, like I'm always confident, despite the way I talk about the club, I'm always confident any game we go into, and I'm not just talking about this year, I'm just talking about in general. I always think we can win. That first quarter we kicked, what was it, 3-18 or something? I mean, we could have almost put the game beyond doubt straight away.
And that's the thing, you lose it by a kick. You go back to moments like that, and suggest that if you did actually capitalise on those opportunities, and they were extremely gettable ones, that you could have really buried Geelong confidence at that point, or we could have just done enough to eke out the win. Not that the game was guaranteed to traverse the same path if we did kick a couple of extra, but I think it would have solidified our position a hell of a lot better.
It's also the other thing. You get a couple, then you feel the momentum. It starts running through your veins. You start actually, pulling off things through confidence that previously were doubtful. So I really squandered that first quarter. Second quarter, they came at us really hard. I thought Mason Cox played a reasonable game, even though he didn't get the possessions and all. He only got like 6 touches. But I thought
he was really good. You're a bit harsh.
No, I'm saying I thought he played really good. Even though he only got 6 touches, I thought he had a good game. I'm actually surprised they didn't fry him up forward at certain points instead of resting him on the bench. I thought, lacking a target, we needed someone down there who the others could run around. The Mycheck thing, Mycheck's decline has coincided with Ash Johnson coming to the side. So I don't know if they're just not making that partnership work, that Mycheck's not playing in a role that he's familiar with, or in which he can exert the same sort of influence he did previously. But as it is, we are lacking genuinely a key position forward.
Oh, clearly.
But don't worry,
we're lacking an inside extractor now. Too.
Yeah, but don't worry, Dan McStay played one good game last week, and apparently that fixes everything in the minds of, I don't know, it kills me when I see those sort of plaudits. No, McStay had a good game, and great if he can do that more consistently. He doesn't. But people using that sort of exception to say, well, this is the rule. No, it's actually the exception. You look at Geelong, they went out and got Cameron. They paid whatever they needed to do to get him. We get these Jesse White types and then hope that they'll transform at the club into something more than what they are. They're not going to. You get what you pay for. So
apparently at Geelong, you just keep paying. I seriously have no idea how that list has been assembled with the dollar value of some of those blokes that they've got. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Oh, look, I
guess the AFL probably has an answer to that, and they'll never reveal it.
Look, I think they probably play for unders because when you play for Geelong, it's also like a lifestyle choice that you're going down to this,
that seems to be the manufactured narrative.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, they're not going to show us.
I've been to Geelong. I couldn't see how less money would make it a lovely lifestyle. So apologies to everyone who lives out in Geelong who listens.
Oh, I think it's more so that like a lot of the players that were going there, like coming from Adelaide or whatever, Cameron, despite being a Victorian boy, he played for GWS, so he's going from sort of a quietish community to another one, gets to be anonymous, largely. Anyway, I mean, we're crying out for a key forward and a midfielder.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the moment Taylor Adams went down, and they're saying he tore his groin off the bone, it was with about 8 minutes to go. I was thinking, that's it, we're done.
No, internally I waved the flag at that point. I just couldn't see. I didn't necessarily think it's still a fait accompli we'd lose. It just got a hell of a lot harder to win.
Were you surprised that they chose Kruger as a sub?
Yeah, which also sort of says that maybe there was either doubt around, because Johnson came off with a corky last week from memory, and if they internally know that there's Mio's carrying something that could snap, I guess they were sort of hedging their bets around that. But who else would you have? I mean, in terms of what did he play, about a half for the VFL to come back in and be sub, that was a surprising selection.
I
But I
look,
think you're running really short in the Collingwood shop at the moment of options. So
I thought the option would have been Ollie Henry. I thought he was the one they needed to play as a sub. He's had regular
didn't
football.
he fracture his hand or something in the last VFL game?
I don't know. Did he? I thought he was fine. I have no idea.
I don't know. He played under a lot of duress for that game, so maybe he didn't come up. I don't know. They haven't really said anything. I don't think you declare all your cards this time of year at any rate, so they've probably just gone very quiet.
I think he was but he was subbing that last game, wasn't he?
In the Blues game, the VFL
Oh,
game.
I'm just on the Collingwood injury list, and it does say hand, and he's under TBC, so to be confirmed. And Kruger's the same.
Collingwood, that often means to be cremated.
Yeah, well, look, I found that the Kruger thing really odd because McRae actually acknowledged that on limited football he's not going to be able to play a full game, which is like, well, what if Adams went down in the first 8 minutes, not the last 8 minutes?
Would have been a completely different end then.
Yeah, how would you have shuffled the side to bring Kruger in, and then you got Johnson, who's admittedly the not most intense player when he doesn't have the ball, and my check, it would have been very top heavy. So I just found that really, really strange. I want Kruger to be a regular in that side, but based on, what we're working with, I think you're asking a bit much to bring him straight in from what's he been out about 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Looking at Pendles, I thought he was really good in the goey. I think anyone who's sort of saying, hey, we should trade him, should really look at that game and go, this is why you don't trade him.
He goes nowhere, thanks, and sign him tomorrow. The other one I thought was exceptionally good was Sidebottom.
Yeah, I thought he was good too.
And this is, when it comes to finals and finals experience, you can't manufacture what these guys bring to the equation. Occasionally they have their off days like grand finals, but they were all mighty, and they lifted, made everyone else walk a bit taller. The lesser lights, the invisibility cloak wearers. It is a bit frustrating to see them not have any output that you think you would lift to in a final. But it's reassuring to know that the old brigade are still capable of bringing the best on the days that matter.
Yeah. I actually think this 1 year under McRae, and I know he won the best and fairest, but this 1 year under McRae, I reckon he's been better than anything I saw under Buckley.
Who you referencing?
Sidebottom.
Yeah.
I think
he was on the decline the last couple of years.
It's not just that. I just think a lot of the time when I like Sidebottom, but I think he tends to get overrated. We've watched games together where he'll mess it up like twice, and then you'll do something good, and people go, well, what great skills. It's like, did you not see what just happened? So for whatever reason, he's always appreciated. But the thing is,
you're talking about Brayshaw, aren't you?
Well, there's a lot of them, but Terry loves him too. But Sidebottom under McRae, I think he just plays with an audacity he didn't show under Buckley. Under Buckley, there was a lot of mad little dashes, stop, turn around, dinky little kick 15 meters sideways. He's lost. I've always thought Sidebottom, when I first saw him under Malthouse, I was thinking, shit, this kid's really good. And then he just sort of, I don't know, he didn't become the player I expected him to be. He still had periods of brilliance and all that, but he just lost a lot of that verve. And I just think that's the way he was coached under Buckley. I think a lot of players played to a very regimented game plan, which stifled flair and I don't know if it's the license to take the game on or the willingness, but they played it too safe too many times. And I love the way he looks now under McRae rather than the way he looked.
Yeah, massively so.
Other guy,
he's got another year, I think. Is he signed for another year?
Yeah, I think he has.
And so, I think, at their ages, to be getting this sort of consistent output out of, the likes of him and Pendlebury is really, really a credit to the current coaching staff.
Yeah. Well, it's good that they're not breaking down every 2 weeks.
No.
Darcy Moore, I thought was great.
Yeah, superb.
thought he probably stemmed the tide to an extent. I thought Nathan Murphy really struggled, and Murphy's got to do something about it. Like the moment he gets the ball, it's just like, I'll just boot the shit out of it. I'll just boot it. Doesn't matter where it's going to go. I've just got to get it away from here. And you can't do that anymore because as Jeremy Hart proved, you can get called for deliberate when you're taking the kick as you're tackled to the ground in the millisecond that you do have, and apparently you've aimed for the boundary.
Oh, that was ridiculous. And then what was worse out of that, Cameron, you can apparently now just decide it's you that's going to take the free. Like, fucking Rowan was the one that was closer.
Oh,
and the thing is, and like, yeah, you don't want to make it about those moments, but I don't think Rowan would have kicked it from there.
He would have kicked it.
They still could have ended up with a goal, but that was annoying.
Rowan played his best finals game ever. He did more in that one final than he did in every other finals play.
He will wear 2 invisibility cloaks for the rest of the final series now. He'll go back to his mediocre nothing.
Yeah, he's the Teddy Hopkins of this final series. He just had and look, that some of those marks he took were great. You know, he played for a lot of purpose. I mean, it's funny when they got that winning goal, he basically slipped over and just steadied himself. But I was like, that's wrong. But yeah, it's frustrating, you know, watching Collingwood games when these players whose reputations for not firing just seem to be non-existent, and they play the game of their lives. It's really frustrating that we can't sort of shut them down and that these guys keep popping up. I mean, as it is, I think we just had way too many players who didn't have enough impact when it mattered. And the players who did have a bit of the ball tended to be a little bit wasteful with it. And that's, again, that...
Although, you know, having said all this, we lost by a goal. I think they did a credible job down the back to contain some big names. And Geelong's capable on their day of kicking big scores. I think we quelled as best as we possibly could.
Yeah, I think defence did a great job. Like I said, I think if Darcy Moore hadn't been playing, would have lost by 6-7 goals. That's the best game I think he's played since he's been back from injury. But I'm just saying, generally around the ball, you know, just not clean enough with our decision making. It seemed to be fumbling quite a bit. You know, the 2 days.
Oh, yeah. But again, I think that's the heat of the moment too. I thought the fumbling it was driving me nuts. It was just uncharacteristic of us. We're usually pretty clean, but I think, again, it's just that finals pressure.
Yeah. So, look, I credit to them. I mean, they did a great job. Geelong's been the best team pretty much of the year. But, like, of all the teams that could topple Geelong, I thought we're probably actually the best chance in terms of the makeup. I think they'll smash most of the clubs who are left in the 8. I don't know for whatever reason. I mean, it's been the case over the years. We tend to match up pretty well with them.
Oh, we play them often enough in finals. I think we've met 248 times.
Let me ask you something. Sorry, I keep going back to the umpiring. Tom Lynch boots the shit out of him from 4 meters out, and the umpire calls a goal, but the goal review calls it over the post. Yep. I don't know how they can determine that given the angles they have available. Ash Johnson takes a mark on the goal line. What did that look like? And then they went to a goal review and paid it a point.
That's an interesting one because I think that was an appalling camera view. You couldn't tell one way or another whether he did. I thought probably, if I had to be honest, he looked like he was back enough that he probably did mark it over the line. But I think there was one the next day, possibly the Dogs match, where it was a very similar situation. And on a different angle, even though he looked like he'd come back a fair way over the line, he did mark the ball clearly inside. So it got me thinking that you know, there could have been something to the Johnson one. A mate of mine was sitting up and had a pretty good view of that, and he reckons it was marked inside. But, you know, I don't think there were too many Collingwood supporters at the time who didn't think that was the case either.
I could only go what was on the scoreboard, and to me it looked like I couldn't see Johnson because the angles they were showing us, he was lost behind the post. I'm thinking, well, if he's lost behind the post, he must be either on the line or, you know, if he's going to be
really. The fact, you know, look, this is what frustrates me with fucking ARC, is that every week at every different ground, you tend to have multiple different camera angles. There's no consistency with the thing. If you're serious about it, you've got to have a camera pointing from the goal post to the behind post as well to capture the footage that's in there, because games can still be decided by a point. It's fair that you've got to cover every possibility with this technology. The cameras are out there and capable of doing it. I don't know why the AFL just keep tugging themselves, thinking that not enough is good enough.
Oh, 100% agree.
You're starting to see now too more and more footage that appears on Twitter of like the Lynch one. People just fucking having their camera phones capturing better angles than that. You know, why aren't you setting up a GoPro or something of a 4K nature at different points that captures different aspects of the ground? It can't be that difficult.
Well, I mean, I look at it from the cricket point of view. They've had the third umpire stuff in for quite a while, and it's a constantly evolving technology. The AFL has relied on 4 cameras pretty much the whole fucking time they've used this up. They have not. Oh, sorry, they brought in that Edjo, I think, but that was pretty much it. That's been their one innovation. Otherwise, they rely on blurry camera footage. I don't know if it was true, but I was saying like Eddie McGuire was talking about microchip technology and stuff like that, and people were laughing. It's like, fuck, he's actually right. Why aren't you pursuing the very best alternatives to make this work? That Lynch one, I thought was a farce because that was like, how do you determine that it's over the post at that time and it's not like a meter behind the post by the time it goes over? We can't tell by those angles.
I must admit, when I was watching the game live, I thought it went over the top of the post. I did laugh. So I was pretty actually happy with the outcome of that decision. I thought the right call was made. But it sort of again shows that because the umpire called a goal for it, or I think it's a goal, and the ARC's overridden that decision because normally they're meant to go with the umpire's interpretation when it's non-conclusive. But I thought there was enough evidence in that one to show that it was.
I mean, the biggest evidence is like Jason Dunstall said, it's just the player reactions. No one celebrated. Lynch looked disappointed. And look, I hope it was a bad umpiring decision. It was a goal, and Richmond got robbed. I think that would be funny. That would please me greatly. But
I don't see any problem with this scenario.
But I mean, I hate the whole philosophy. It's umpire's call, so it's the umpire's call, but he's referring it to the third umpire because he's unsure. So how do you go back to him and then go, well, we're going to go with his uncertainty? It's a flawed premise as it is, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I think I might be making a mistake. Check it for me. Oh, we're going back to me. Okay, so then run with my potential mistake. Fuck off.
When it's inconclusive. So we've got now 2 misinterpretations of what happened.
Yeah. So the AFL should be doing everything possible to make that technology work. You have it in tennis. You have it in cricket. They're constantly doing amazing things with the technology. Surely the AFL should be able to set something up. Surely you can fucking stick sensors in the posts and a sensor in the bloody ball so there's a registration of when the ball's going past. Surely there's got to be alternatives to this rather than guessing from blurry fucking images, which often enough when we get the decision, it's like, really? You totally reverse that decision based on what little evidence you have? And it's the funny thing is sometimes they're a little bit daring with their calls. Other times it's just like, no, it's very clear on the footage, but then they don't back it in. So I don't know. It's frustrating.
It is.
What do you think of McRae's comment after we don't want to lie down like losers? You lost the game, you're not losers.
I fucking love that. And this is exactly the stuff that we've been calling for in terms of a change in mindset at Collingwood. And I think a lot of the changes that McRae's made this year have been in such an enormously positive direction around what the mindset of these players should be. And I'm absolutely 150 billion% in agreement with what he said. It was interesting on that Best on Ground or whatever it is that was on Fox that I watched afterwards. And they were talking about that. And Jonathan Brown brought up a story about how when he was at Brisbane and Matthews was coaching, it always comes back to Matthews here. There was footage after they lost, they got smashed by Essendon, and there was footage of Hurd and Voss, having a bit of a laugh with each other. And Brown said they went back to the review on Monday and they didn't show any footage of the game. All he did was show that moment and said, Matthew said, I don't ever want to see that again. Similar to what he said to BT. It's obviously he's got form there. But what Brown said was the impact that it had on that group right from then is like everyone sat up and listened. Everyone pretty much never did that again. And he goes, it sort of had this galvanizing moment about, I think you're right. That's what it actually, it means something more than that just isolating a single incident. There is a mindset that you want to get. And he said he had no doubt McRae was very deliberate in what he did. And they've never hidden that winning culture. I remember there was a photo at the start of the year where they were running the tan, and it had there was a little sign down at their feet that said winning. And I think they've been trying to instill that pretty much from dot. And I think it's a magnificent initiative.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it translates long term. I mean, I'm totally for the message. The only problem is Chad Corns made a half decent point, just saying that sometimes when the siren blows, you get a moment of disappointment, you just slump, you're knackered and all that. So I don't know if you can deny the players in that moment of I don't know if you want to call it despair or whatever, because I think the real interesting thing about when you lose the game is whatever the fucking game is, but it's like you occasionally need that. You need that pain to drive you. So I'm curious how it translates. I mean, all for the message, but I don't know about the vehicle. It
is easy to rationalise this thing, but when it's such a close loss, you just easily gravitate back to moments that had gone the other way and we'd scored, and you probably would have held on. I mean, nothing's ever that absolute, but it's normal behaviour to go back to the moments.
Oh, look, I think
like Rockets missed goal.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a funny one too, because like I look at that, like there's players that just didn't have that much impact on the game. If they had a bit more impact, look, I think what it really comes down to is lost by a goal. If Buckley put in another 5 years of building that side, we probably would have won by a goal. I mean, that's the really important thing to get out of this.
Look, at the end of the day, I thought it was an incredibly admirable performance. I wasn't angry at the end. I think you were, by the sound of things.
Always
I don't know
angry.
how many street fights you're in.
Like the Hulk.
It was people were apparently stacking 20-cent pieces next to you to have a crack at you. It was that full on. But no, I mean, obviously, not being well, it's probably not a good idea for me to get my heart rate too elevated at the moment. So I had to sort of calm down a fair bit internally. But it was I walked away feeling more encouragement for the future based on that performance. I think you learn a lot about yourself in that type of thing, and I think we'll be in a better position this week. Yeah, there was an interesting comment I think that Goodwood made after the D's lost, in that this week they went into this with 3 games to win, and they still need to win 3 games to win a flag, and it's exactly the same for us. We've got a second chance. We're no worse off than where we were. Yeah, in some respects, I do think that like in 2018 when we lost the first final against West Coast, that there's something to be said for continuity in finals these days.
Yeah.
You look at, you have that week off before the final start, then you win one and you make the prelim and you got another week off. You're essentially only playing 1 game of football in 3 weeks.
Oh, we saw that in 2019. And Ron Connolly wrote an interesting article a while ago that statistically, since they brought in that bye, a lot of teams who win that first week, a lot more teams who win that first week now drop out of the finals. And it's obviously just hurting their continuity and momentum. So, I mean, you got a good point. In 2018, I think one of the big problems is, went to Perth and then we came here, and at least we didn't have that big road trip. But then now we're going to have to go to Sydney and play on that postage stamp.
Yeah,
if we beat Fremantle. So I don't want to get ahead of beating Fremantle like some side might have did when they played an injury depleted GWS in the prelim. But my concern too is you look at that list, that profile, as you mentioned, Sidebottom was good, Pendlebury was really good. How is he slowing down? You're getting players who are sort of going to fall away, and who's going to come up and replace them? If this is what we need if this is the input we need, who's going to replace these Pendleberries, these side bottoms and all that? He'll talk about Poulter or whoever the case is, but they're not plug and play. They're still going to be a couple of years away. So
no. But you sort of figure that probably on the back of this year that the window is open for us a little bit earlier, that you're going to have a fair old crack next year or possibly the year after, because they'll be gone by then.
Well, okay.
That means that you're obviously going to have to try and do some astute trading.
Well, I was going to say, so let's go to this. So Grundy's going to Melbourne. What do you expect back?
You'll get a first round.
Yeah,
pick.
so then they're going to finish whatever, so it's going to be a pick 15 or something.
Which you're not going to get what we need at that point. But, look, I think it could be a bundle deal, or it could be just a straight swap for their first pick. We're still going to end up, I think, footing. Well, what have we publicly stated? That we're happy to pay $300,000 of his contract. But look, if he goes, we're not going to get what we would have got a couple of years ago for him, when we probably should have moved him on. In terms of his trade value, it's going to be an interesting one.
Well, what would you look at? What would you prioritize? So, look, let's say they're going to get McStay, great. So that's a sort of key position player. What are you looking for in trade?
The other one that seems to keep popping up, which is an opportunistic forward. We need inside extractors. I'd probably also, unless, you've got Charlie Dean, that they were rating quite highly, and I thought his preseason form looked pretty good. He should be back next year, so that's a big key defender, I guess, that's there in the mix. Howe's closer to the end, so you're not going to be able to rely on him. The trouble is, if like Darcy goes down injured next year, you just call it off. I don't think you can recover from that. So you're going to have some insurance down back there, but the midfield is the key one. I think Geelong are as probably poor a clearance side as we are, so it sort of didn't make us look that bad. But moving forward, we need a little bit more midfield dominance with the clearances, so we need to address that. And you look, if you get a first round pick for Grundy, you're probably a better chance of getting a good inside mid there with that first pick.
Yeah,
or maybe we bundle up. We'd be there with two. Because what pick do we end up with? We're about 16 or something at any road.
No, we'll have to win the flag. We'll end up with pick 18 to 20 after free agents and all that sort of shit. So,
that's a fair point.
Look, I mean, Taranto, I don't watch enough GWS, but just don't watch any GWS, sorry. To really know.
Well, he's all done for Richmond anyway, so he's
allegedly, yeah. So, but that's the sort of player they need. They need a couple of inside mids. I think they're still too small in the midfield. They need a couple of big bodies. The goey shows immediately once he's in there. He's a bull. He gets the ball. He runs hard.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, do you think Josh Dacos will go in there? It's like, no, I don't think he should go in there. I think he's doing a really good job as a wingman. So it's like Treloar. It's like, why would you play him inside when you can get a lot more value out of him outside? What
about the Tom Mitchell rumor? You signing up for that one?
Yeah, look, I'd take him really cheap, but
I would.
Yeah, I'll take him. Look, I mean, I know a rag on McStay. Look, I'll take him. It's just I don't think he's a solution to problems. And, people say he's a free hit. Okay, great. But I can actually see the McStay thing turning out like Chris Mayne's first year, where he's brought in to play key position and there's actually no role for him. So I think they prioritise him as a target at a time that their options seem limited, but in that time since they identified him, Ollie Henry really showed quite a bit, and Ash Johnson showed a bit. And if McStay was 200 centimeters, I'd be going to go for it. He's not. He's like a medium-sized tall, a little bit taller, but
pinch hits in the ruck too, which I think is attractive to us. It does not make you so reliant on the Cameron.
But see, so I don't understand. I don't understand this logic. So you pinch hits in the ruck. So does that mean you play Cameron as a forward, solely as a forward?
Well, I'm only assuming that you're probably not going to get a full year out of Coxie. I think that's the only thing that I can draw out of that conclusion.
Yeah, so I don't know what the logic is though. It's like look. I've said it about Cameron and Cox for 98 years. They're fucking ruckmen. This bullshit about playing them as forwards. Whenever they've played as ruck, they look so much better. And as forwards, they look like ruckmen playing as forwards. So do you revert Darcy Cameron back to somewhere where he's only so-so? If you bring in mistakes?
It's a hard one. And maybe it's, would you consider moving Mircek down back to his grassroots and having him have a crack in defence again?
Oh, it's got a little bit. It's about. I mean, look, my solution is you fucking go get a fullback and put Darcy Moore to centre forward, and I think that'll fix a lot of fucking issues very quickly.
I think you've mentioned that once or twice before.
Yeah, but this is what I'm just saying is they're like the way you're talking is lateral. So like I'm happy to entertain that, to fill a spot, to release someone to play in a different position. Even if it's like, hey, maybe you play Howe down forward a little bit, so he's not constantly having to follow opponents and shit like that. Right now, I think the midfield is their number one priority because they're just getting killed in there. And even McCraig said it's not a sustainable model to be winning when we're constantly losing stats drastically. I think the one thing with defense is because it now plays as a unit rather than like individuals on individuals, because it's really sort of about zoning and, chop outs and stuff like that. But you can get away with lesser defenders or lesser caliber players in those positions because they're all got each other's backs. Whereas up forward, you don't sort of have that in the same way. You obviously have players providing blocks and all that sort of stuff. But as forwards, you do have to play effectively as individuals. The smaller players have to crumb off the bigger players. That's a sort of synergy there. But in defense, it's actually about we've got a zone and block space. And if, my teammate's opponent is standing under a high pass, I should run in and provide the chop out. So I think because you have that backup, that reinforcement, it does tend to mean you can get away with lesser players there. And that's why I think the reality is so many forwards go to defense because they find it easier to do that than to play forward.
Yeah.
I think Moore showed enough in his limited time forward to suggest, hey, he could do something. And he played a fucking during Buckley's stagnant game plan, and people are going, oh, you never tore the game apart. Oh, geez, name one forward who did. But yeah, I'd be prioritising a midfielder and a few bigger bodies. I mean, I know they've been linked to Frampton from, where is he now? Fremantle. And I know they love their Moneyball solutions. They're constantly sort of spouting them out. I don't follow the other teams enough, but surely there's going to be your Lyndon Dunn types, your Jared Roughhead types, who are sort of guys who have fallen out of favour for whatever reason. And, you can pick up inexpensively, but I don't know. I just really, I hope they get the synergy right, because I worry that they're sort of going for so-so players who are going to be competitive, but are they really going to improve us? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll cut them some slack. They've surprised the absolute living fuck out of me this year. So, they clearly have some notion. I can only invest in that belief for how it goes next year.
Yeah, I just think, you do become the sum of your parts. And I mean, I know Graham Wright's been great, but I mean, you also got to look at when he was at Hawthorn. He brought in the Hendersons, the Ty Vickerys, Tom Mitchell's, Jager O'Meara and all that. And I heard Clarkson semi defending it, saying, Mitchell and Jager O'Meara are effectively top 5 picks. So why wouldn't you do those deals? And I think it's just about recognizing where you are in the grand scheme of things and what you need. Because, and I've always said this for 20 years, you get these clubs that end up being at an impasse, like St Kilda, who think we're not that far away, we need to get a couple of players in, and then they just remain there because they're bringing in players who aren't really adding greater value. And they just middle, and St Kilda, they look good for about 4 weeks and then they just fell away again. And that's what I think happens, which I don't want that to be us. I don't want us to just keep topping up and going, we're not that far away. And then before you know it, the bottom drops out and you're going, well, maybe now we have to just go back to the draft and waste another 5 years. Playing Fremantle Saturday night at the MCG. I saw some of this game at the pub. The Fremantle Bulldogs game. Bulldogs jumped them and then Freo overhauled them.
Yep.
How good are Freo? We beat them over there, but we tend to struggle with them. I don't know why. It's not like they have a lot of firepower. What are your thoughts?
They tend to travel well too. Conversely, it was a good win for them there. I hope it was a very taxing win. I think look, I probably thought going into this final series that we'd probably be beaten by the Cats. We'd win the following week and we'd probably get done in a prelim. And I probably thought that's probably where we're at. I don't sort of necessarily think anything's changed that. I think we'll probably win. The crowd noise, all that sort of things, really going to work in our favour. The ratio should be quite strong in our favour. It will be a formidable presence. The loss of Adams, though, just guts me.
Yeah.
That really worries me how we cover that. I don't see who is the standout that they can bring in. I don't think we'll have any left of centre choices because was it there was some Brisbane debuted some kid who kicked a couple.
Yeah,
I don't think I think we've gone back. Yeah, we've gone back to that a couple of times this year and produced a couple of prospects, but I just that part worries me.
Yeah, I really don't understand how Poulter's fallen so far out of favour. The few games I've seen him play the VFL, he's been really good, but there seems to be a bit of there must be something internally that some reason they're not choosing him. You obviously have to go back to someone like Callum Brown if you're going to go for a mid. I don't think Finlay McRae's ready at this time.
Carmichael's the only other obvious one, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and I heard that he was injured potentially. So, but Carmichael also, not debuting him, but bringing him back. He's got about 6 games under his belt, playing in the final. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they did something like if Henry is fit, playing him forward and pushing Elliott up, or even, honestly, even bringing in Magden and playing him defensively, and then having Maynard play some stints in the midfield. The one thing I know you get with Magden is he will throw his body, into every contest, and he's a bigger guy. So, but I don't know. It's a really weird one, and I don't want to see Kruger as the medi sub again. I think they really need to sort of play as if they need runners rather than bigger bodies. Sorry, bigger bodies rather than key positioners or. But I hope that Fremantle satiated by their one win of their final. And it's like, we've done our job for this year. Don't think that's going to happen. So we just have to come out and smash them.
I think that's the case. Enough of this close shit. Just go out and fucking thump someone.
I actually thought that in the first quarter against Geelong, it's like, we're on top of them. It needs to be like we need to be getting these goals rather than, they missed some sitters, wasted some chances. I mean, if we went into that first quarter, why are they kicking their first quarter? They were, let me look up the stats.
1-2 or something? Who you talking about, us or Geelong?
No, them.
Or are you talking Freo?
No, I'm talking about Geelong. So they were 1-3 in the first quarter, and we were 3-5. So if we were just 8 straight, we would have won
that. If only.
Yeah, and then we were 4-8. So we only kicked 1-3 in the second quarter. We're seeing we can kick goals and kick strings of goals, but I mean that's that whole momentum thing, When you're kicking a lot of points, you just kick a lot of points. And when you're kicking a lot of goals, you're kicking a lot of goals. It's funny the way that works. So we just need to take our opportunities when we've got them.
Spot on. But hopefully we take all the opportunities this week.
Yeah. So any final thoughts?
No, I'm going to wait with bated breath for the team announcement to see what how they handle the Adams and the midi sub. I think that's 2 of the almost crucial positions this week.
Yeah,
as silly as it sounds for the midi sub, I don't think you want to get caught out. Like I'm with you with Kruger in there. I think you need something that's almost a utility, like plug and play, just in case we do have another one drop.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even do things like just playing McCreary in the middle for brief bursts and just say, look, just run around. Look, play as a defensive mid. Just run around, squash players, tackle them. Just apply that pressure, kill a bit of time, or their time and space to dispose of it. But, it's really sort of a bare cupboard that you can't bring in someone who's ready-made to be plug and play, and it's a shame. And it's a shame for Adams because he missed so much football with that, those groin injuries he's had, and we really counted on him coming back.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it from us. We'll see you next week at some point.
Excuse me. You're not doing predictions?
We both know we're going to win. So, do you have a prediction? What's your prediction?
Freo by 10 goals.
Oh, it's good to have you
And
back.
Michael Walters will kick all 10 of them.
Just as a final side note, because someone sent me this, highest rated players, first league of finals, Jordan De Goey tops the list with 28.7 ratings points, and then Lachie Neale's on 25. So hopefully we get rid of him. We don't want that around the club, do we?
No. Like a blokes who can play.
Yeah, I'm tipping Collingwood by 7 goals, 43 points.
43. All right, I'll go 44.
It's all about Jack Magden with you, isn't it?
That's it.
Anyway, that's it from us. We'll see you next week.
And
Later.
we'll see you next week. Catch.